What's good, Dream Team? Welcome back to part 3 of the video where we're going to serve up our web scraped data using a JSON API. And so we're going to use REST, Node.js, Express, and serve up all of our chronologically fetched data, fetched at regular intervals from the Reddit activity levels. So this is the code from last time, and this is our stored little database. We want to serve this up to a user. How do we do it? It's actually not very hard. We're just going to go npm install express and node, just express for the minute. For nodemon, we're going to go npm i -- save dead nodemon. And so that's just going to install nodemon, which is automatically going to restart our server every time we have an issue. And so in here, we're just going to modify the start script to say nodemon. And now we're good to const express is equal to require express and write an app that is going to serve up all of this information. And so to do that, we just say const app is equal to, and we call express as a function. And now the last thing we have to do is write a port. So port is equal to process.env.port. So that's just if you host it, and otherwise we're going to say 8383. And now the bottom of our page, we can just say app.listen at port, and when our server starts, we can run an anonymous function that is just console.log server has started on port, and pass in the port. And so now when I rerun this file, this web scraping is going to continue to occur, but we're now going to have a server running in the background. So we can see that our server has indeed started on port 8383. And in just a second, we should see this web scraping continue to occur. So it has indeed. And our storage, our JSON file, will continue to accumulate. Now what we're going to do in here is write a route after all of this information, and we're just going to basically allow a user to use a a request parameter to ask for particular information. And so to do that, we're going to say app.get, and we're going to pass it a dynamic route that is just going to be the web page, or even better, the subreddit. And so in here, we're going to take the request and the response. We're going to open that up onto a new line and just destructure the subreddit out of the request. And so here we're going to say we're going to have to read in the database every time the request gets made. So we're just going to say const data is equal to read database, and we're going to do an if check. So we're going to say if subreddit is not in, so actually it's going to be a not. If subreddit in data, so if the key does not exist, we're going to return res.status 400.send, and we're going to send a message saying subreddit not tracked. Otherwise, the subreddit does indeed exist, and we can just send that information back by saying res.status 200.send, and we can just send back an object. So the key is going to be the subreddit, and the data is just going to be data subreddit. And so just like that, we should be able to test this route, and I'm going to use a test.rest file. And so to use test.rest files, you just want to have the VS Code extension. If you look up REST client, that will allow you to use these excellent REST files as opposed to using Postman or anything like that. And so we just write a GET request HTTP localhost 8383, and I could just make up a random subreddit and call that request, and we would expect to get back not that. So in this particular case, that's exactly what it is, params. Whoopsies, that's my mistake. So now when we run that, we can see that that returns properly. But now the next thing that's happening is we're not getting this working properly. So instead what we're going to do is say object.keysData.includes subreddit. So if that doesn't exist, so let's try running that once more, we can see that that does indeed correctly track. But now if I try get back learn programming, okay, big problem. So what we're going to do instead is just modify these URLs because we have a consistent base. And so that's just going to say learn programming. And that's just going to say web dev. Now, in here, we're going to have to add something to this URL. So I'm just going to add in the base URL. So let me just initialize that up here. Const base URL is equal to that. And so now what we can do is just say base URL plus the 2. So that will continue to work. It will also change the structure of our JSON database. So I'm just going to reinitialize that nice and easily. And so now what we can do is actually just call that subreddit because our key will be that subreddit. So if we look at the database as soon as that runs, we look at the database. Now the key is just learn programming. And so this will actually be able to just check if that key includes that. So if I get rid of all of this and just go learn programming, we can make that request, which we could do from a front end, and we can see that we get back all of this information. And I could do the same for web dev, and it does indeed work too. And so that's just really easily how you could serve this information up as part of a GET request. You could even add on an API key to this thing. So in here, you could just say const API key is equal to request.query. And you could make sure that it exists, or it's equal to James. So if API key is not equal to James, return res.status 400.send message, please use API key. And so in here, if we run that again, we can see that the API key doesn't work. But if I added it, API key is equal to James, we once again get all of that data back. And so just like that, we've served it up as part of a JSON API using REST principles. And so you could just host this on the internet and anyone can now use your data API. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please like and subscribe and let me know whatever other content you want me to make. Love you guys. Peace out. Catch you later.